It's no secret that our roads are getting busier. Experts predict that India is all set to become the world's third largest passenger vehicle market by 2019, from 6th place currently. And while that will add stress to road infrastructure and increase the need for road safety, it also promises to scale the country's demand for a limited resource: fuel. According to a forecast by India's energy data body, the Petroleum Planning and Analysis Cell, India consumed nearly 162 million tons of refined fuels this fiscal year, and that demand is expected to grow by 3.3% annually. Now, while those numbers do sound alarming, we can certainly do our bit to help ease the strain. And one way of doing that is to learn how to drive in a manner that helps conserve fuel and ensure maximum mileage for your vehicle. Hello and welcome, I'm Animesh Das and this is Shell Fuel Economy Fact or Fiction, a show that aims to debunk the myths and reiterate the facts regarding fuel-efficient driving behavior. But before we get any further, here's a quick snapshot of the public consensus on this popular topic.
Everyone looks for fuel efficiency and economy when they buy a car. So yes, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would definitely rate it 8.
I think it is very important both for the vehicle and for your own pocket also.
Fuel efficiency within the city, it is very difficult to achieve anything because we have to change the gears very frequently.
Shifting gears it's not a good choice.
Fuel and the engine oils are obviously important for the smooth running of the engine and the fuel, right? So I don't know how to define it, but yes, it's important.
I may be consuming more fuel because I always put on AC. Without AC, I don't drive.
I usually stick to one service center which provide me one kind of petrol and the lubricant.
Rolling up windows is actually good for your, improving your mileage.
I change my gears very often because then I can save fuel.
If you go to the old fuel pumps where you don't have a density checking based on the temperature, it's better to fill it up in the early morning because you get an appropriate liter.
So there's confusion about what constitutes fuel-efficient driving behavior, but there's also willingness and a desire to educate oneself. That's why I'm in Bangalore at Shell's Technology Center to learn more. Let's step in. I'm now joined by Mr. Ravi Sundarajan, who heads the retail operations for Shell in India. Ravi, thanks for joining us, sir.
Nice meeting you, Ramesh.
So Ravi, we've just heard several people echo a sentiment that mileage is extremely important for their vehicles. But at the same time, people really don't know how to achieve it. So is that the thought that led Shell to release what it calls the Fact or Fiction report?
Shell conducted this fuel economy Fact or Fiction report covering almost 1,000 respondents, 1,000 drivers from across the country. What we found is very interesting. We found that the Indian driver goes to extraordinary lengths to save fuel. At the same time, we found that they believe in a lot of myths. So our aim in this whole exercise is to ensure that the drivers become informed and smarter drivers. So they look at the right ways of saving fuel.
The most interesting fact of this report are those myths and facts that you mentioned. So would you mind taking a small drive so that we could discuss that?
Yeah, of course.
All right, come ahead. So Ravi, this seems to be the ritual for all of us. We get into our car, wear our seatbelts, ensure that we are comfortable, and then some of us switch it on and let it warm up for a while. Is that really necessary?
It's really not necessary. When you start the engine and let it idle, you're really going nowhere. For the fuel economy of the vehicle, it's better to start it and start moving the way you want to. And very quickly, the engine would come up to the required temperature and combustion would be complete. So you're actually wasting a lot of fuel if you just idle and go.
So that really is the technical reason why warming up your engine is a myth.
It is a myth. It is a myth.
All right. The other thing that we love doing, and most of us do it, it's because of the heat, is roll up our windows, blast that air conditioning.
Oh, that's quite true. Most cities are hot, especially in India. The impact on fuel economy is dependent on the speed at which you drive. At low speed, you will find that the vehicle consumes a lot more fuel, which means that it is better to roll down your glasses, your windows, and keep it completely open and switch off the AC. Maybe you could try using the fan or whatever it is, or use the AC to the barest minimum possible that you really need.
All right.
And Ford, for example, estimates that the consumption of fuel is around 15% more than otherwise.
And that's only in their cars.
Yeah, it's in their car.
Does this vary from car to car?
It could vary from car to car depending on the design of the car, the season, and those kind of things. Those are other factors which have an effect on the fuel efficiency.
But you kept mentioning at only slow speeds. So
Yeah.
what about high speeds?
At high speeds, we are talking about wind resistance. So when you cross speeds of 85, 90 kilometers an hour, it is better to roll up your windows and switch on your AC.
And at that time, there is no effect on fuel efficiency.
That time,
as such.
the fuel efficiency, the efficiency of the vehicle actually improves with higher speeds.
Okay, all right. What about using your in-car or entertainment systems? Does that have any correlation with fuel efficiency?
Very marginal. I don't think you should really worry about that.
So whoever believes in that, that is actually a myth.
That's actually a myth.
All right. Let's move on to something that's been ingrained into us by any driving schools, and that is the fact of using our clutch as less as possible. What's the technical reason behind that?
Vehicle movement happens when the gears come in contact and they start rolling. Clutch is actually intended to move from one gear to another.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either you're going fast and you want to come down to slower speed. You're going slow. You're going to a faster speed.
Sure.
So you need to shift gears, right? This contact with the clutch has to be as minimal as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. So you depress your clutch, change the gear, and immediately switch out. Take your leg off the clutch. I think that's the way that you will get maximum mileage.
All right.
If you have your foot on the clutch pedal constantly, then you're using a lot of power, but that power is not getting transmitted into the wheels, and therefore movement is not happening.
Okay.
Therefore, it is less fuel efficient.
There's also this belief that we should quickly shift to the top gear as soon as possible.
Yes.
How does that help?
Yeah, engine efficiency actually improves with speed. So at lower speeds, the RPM is higher.
Yeah.
When the RPM is higher, it actually consumes more fuel. At higher speeds, the RPM comes down, and therefore it becomes more fuel efficient.
Okay. Yeah. But it's interesting you mentioned that, and you also used the word traffic.
Yeah.
And of course, we are in Bangalore's famous stop and go traffic, where it's really difficult to get good straight line driving ability for even say a minute or 2 minutes. So in this stop and go kind of conditions, is it really advisable to turn off your engine at each and every point?
Yeah, I think there are many things in play here.
All right.
A question of passenger convenience. But if you're talking purely from the aspect of fuel efficiency, if you have to stop for 10 seconds or more, it is more efficient in terms of fuel efficiency to switch off your engine.
That less, just 10 seconds?
10 seconds, that's all it takes. That's if you are going to wait for more than 10 seconds, you burn up more fuel.
It doesn't matter how many times you restart your car?
It doesn't matter how many times you restart your car. And if you look at it, many of the modern day vehicles have this auto stop start facility.
Yes.
So as soon as you come to a signal, it switches off, and as you press the accelerator, it starts again. It's basically designed to improve the fuel efficiency of those cars.
All right. So essentially, we are going back to the lessons that all our driving instructors gave us, which is to drive in a smooth manner and at a constant speed as far as possible.
Absolutely. And today you have technology to help you in that process.
So on that note, let's take a quick commercial break. When we return, we continue this conversation all in an effort to break down those myths of fuel efficient driving behavior. Welcome back. You're watching Shell's Fact or Fiction, a show that aims to debunk the myths of fuel-efficient driving behavior. And I'm joined with Mr. Ravi Sundarajan, who's the head of Shell's retail operations in India. And our vehicle is getting filled up. And while that is happening, Ravi, can you help us understand why it is essential for drivers to know what kind of fuel they're putting into their vehicles?
Yeah. The quality of the fuel actually influences the fuel economy that you get from your vehicle.
Okay.
So it has to be completely pure. Modern day fuels have lots of additives. Additives help to clean up the engine deposits. So if you know the kind of fuel that you are adding, you'll be able to have complete combustion in your vehicle, and that will translate into higher mileage and higher fuel efficiency.
Also, the report mentions that 36% of all Indian drivers choose a fuel based on its fuel efficiency. So how does Shell really ensure that happens at its fuel outlets?
Yeah, Shell ensures that we give the right quantity of fuel to the customers. There's a calibrated 5-liter measure, and we check the dispense quantity with a calibrated measure on a daily basis across all our petrol pumps to ensure that the right quantity is delivered to the customer on a daily basis every single time the customer comes to a Shell site.
Moving on, as a vehicle is getting topped up, there is a certain thought that's been put into my head, and a lot of people believe this, that it's better to fill up when it's cooler, so in the evening or in the morning. Is that really the case?
It's really not the case. All these tanks are underground, so the temperature fluctuation in the product is very minimal. So you're really not going to see any great difference depending on the time of day that you fill the product.
Is it advisable to remove extra weight from the boot while you're topping up your car?
Not necessarily topping up the car. As far as possible, we should try and carry as less weight in the boot and the back seat, and that's what we encourage.
Okay.
The more weight that a car has to carry, the fuel efficiency comes down.
Why is that?
It's just because it has to do more work. It has to lift more weight.
So it's not to do with how much weight is in the car while it is being filled?
No, not when it has to do with how much it is pulling around, and therefore we encourage motorists not to load their boots and their rear seats with a lot of unnecessary material.
Okay, Ravi, he seems to be burping the car. That's what you call that, right?
Yeah.
Is that advisable to do?
Yeah, burping the car is basically bouncing the car up and down. What he's trying to do is to release any kind of trapped air pockets.
Okay.
At best, you can add a few milliliters of fuel into it. So I think it really is a waste of time.
And of course, checking your vehicle's fluids is very important as well, right?
Yeah, maintenance of the vehicle is most important to get the best out of your vehicles, and checking these fluids is very important. Engine oil, coolant, brake fluids, almost everything that is contained within the engine has to be checked periodically and brought up to the right levels.
All right. And Shell is an extremely innovative company. So how do you ensure that your products, while at the development stage itself, help in bettering fuel efficiency down the line when they're finally consumed?
Yeah. The main thing is that we need complete combustion.
Okay.
When you have fuels and fuels are burned inside the engine, sometimes there are deposits which are formed on the pistons and in the inlet valves and things like that. So you need detergents which clean these piston valves and take away all these deposits. Most of the fuel additives fulfill this property. So Shell actually invests a lot on R&D. The additives that we use ensure the higher fuel efficiency.
Of course, that's on the product side, but globally Shell is already doing a lot with an eye on the future of automobiles and fuel consumption. There's this event which is the Shell Ecomarathon. What's that about?
The Shell Ecomarathon is about the future of mobility. We encourage young engineers to test the limits of fuel efficiency in the vehicles that they design.
Well, that sounds interesting. So why don't we delve a little bit deeper into this event that is rightfully considered the ultimate mileage challenge. The scale and attention to detail at Shell's Ecomarathon marvels you. But it's interesting to know that all this is a result of a friendly bet between Shell scientists 76 years ago in 1939. The bet? Who could travel furthest on the same amount of fuel? That thought has powered the Shell Ecomarathon ever since it established itself as an annual event in 1985. This year, the Asian leg of the global competition brought together 127 teams, all students from various engineering universities across Asia, Africa and Australia, including 11 teams from India as well.
Hi, we are Media from India and welcome to Shell Ecomarathon.
The teams had to fabricate and manufacture prototypes or urban concept cars, all in an effort to build ultra-efficient vehicles that ultimately aim to help shape the future of mobility.
Shell Ecomarathon means a lot to me and to my team. It's actually one of the biggest automotive events all over the world. So it provides us a challenge, a platform to come up with some innovation, some new ideas, so that we can increase the fuel efficiency, work towards a better future.
Compared to normal bowl, the GoPro can travel long distances without any swing in the direction or anything. And when we apply this principle into a car, the aerodynamic efficiency of a car actually improve. It's about 14% increase in compared to normal designs.
We chose this because it is good for the society. We can achieve 3-figure mileage, which will be useful for a lot of purpose.
The entire work, starting from the design to the fabrication, is done by the engineers. We do not outsource anything. The body is made up of carbon fiber, chassis, and as well as the shell. So in that case, we reduce the overall weight of the body. We all know the crisis that the world is facing for the fuel. And who else can take responsibility other than the engineers?
Cars that passed the strict technical inspections were then tested on track. Competitors were allowed 5 attempts and the best mileage from among those was considered. The top honours went to Team Virgin from Thailand's Sakon Nakhon Technical College, who clocked in a whopping 1,572 kilometers per litre. But in the end, it was the enthusiasm, creativity and capability of the students that really shone through. If these kids are responsible for the future of mobility, the future certainly looks bright.
Alright Ravi, so the future looks really bright and promising, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. We have a responsibility to meet the energy demands. We need to cut carbon emissions, and we know that easy sources of oil are few. So we therefore have to come up with innovative products to ensure that the customer continues to enjoy mobility in a very efficient manner.
On that note, Ravi, thank you so much for your valuable time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
But it's not just the fuel we use or the way we drive that helps improve the mileage of our vehicles. Join us in the next segment as we head to Shell's lubricants manufacturing facility in Maharashtra to find out the role that lubricants play in upping fuel efficiency. Welcome back. You're watching Shell's Fact or Fiction, where we're separating the myths from the facts of fuel-efficient driving behavior. Now, if you're wondering why I'm dressed the way I am, well, that's because I'm at Shell's lubricant manufacturing facility here in Taloja, Maharashtra, and I'm here to understand the role lubricants play in driving up fuel economy. So, let's go in. Well, I'm at the heart of Shell's lubricants manufacturing facility here in Taloja, and with me is Mr. Nitin Prasad, the Managing Director of Shell Lubricants India. Nitin, thanks for making this trip all the way here to Taloja.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be here.
All right, so do lubricants really help increase fuel efficiency?
Yeah, absolutely. So the equation is actually quite simple for us in a way to kind of think about this. A smoother engine or a cleaner engine means that there's fewer deposits on the shafts, meaning there's less particles that are in the engine size itself, which means as the parts move against each other, there's less resistance, and that means that you're getting higher fuel efficiencies and you're getting higher benefits. So the equation for us is extremely simple. A cleaner engine is a smoother engine, and that equals fuel efficiency.
And I know Shell is an extremely innovative company, so how are you ensuring that your products and your lubricants actually help improve fuel efficiency?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways that we work this along the way. So let me focus on 2 or 3 different areas. One thing that we do is we work really closely with our OEM partners to design the right oil for the right engine. Now, you know, one of the things that's sometimes a bit of a myth that's out there is that all oils are the same. But that's actually not true. All engines are not the same and all OEMs are not the same. So all oils are actually by definition quite different. So we work really closely with the OEM manufacturer for their specific engine type to design the right oil for their requirements. Example, if it's particularly a minivan or a 16-passenger van, that's a very high load-bearing vehicle, and it may have a different requirement than, let's say, what a small car may have, which will only have 4 passengers on it, which would be very different than what a sports car may have. So step 1, we work really closely with the OEM to design the right lubricant that keeps the engine clean and smooth.
Okay.
Right? Step 2 is having lubricants that can actually last for a longer duration of time.
All right.
One of the things that you will notice is that, you know, you get into a car straight out of servicing and the car feels great. But you know, you get into the first month and the second month and you've already passed your 500 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers, you start getting into the 5,000 kilometers, And on many oils, what you'll see is that the performance starts degrading. The noise increases, the vibration increases.
You start noticing the niggles.
You start noticing all of this. And that actually means that the oil quality is starting to degrade. Now, go back to that equation. Smoother engine, cleaner engine equals fuel efficiency. That means that if the oil is degrading, you're starting to get particulates being implanted on the engine side, which means the engine is not smooth, which means you're losing fuel efficiency through the cycle, life cycle of the lubricant. So it's really important then to be conscious about this and to change your lubricants often and make sure that you have the best lubricants in your engines.
All right.
Now, we've invested in a new plant in Qatar and come out with what we call Pure Helix Ultra and Advanced Ultra with Pure Plus. Now, these are the most advanced lubricants that we call synthetic lubricants, cleaner burning, and again, the equation works for us. Because they're cleaner burning, we get higher fuel efficiency with these particular lubricants. And the savings that we can get, for example, in the car side of things, up to 3% fuel efficiency.
So that's excellent news for drivers, but does the average driver actually understand the huge importance of lubricants and fuel economy?
Well, the answer is a bit of a yes and no, right? So we've done our survey and we went into our facts and fictions, and if you take a look at the response, 83% of people will tell you that fuel efficiency is important to them. But then you also have 68% of people who will tell you that they don't know how to be fuel efficient. And if you then break it down specifically on the lubricant side of the house, and we ask the question, what does it mean to you? Why do you actually use an engine oil? About 37% will tell you that's about protection, which is actually the right answer. It does lead to the right benefits.
Yes.
But then you have people who will tell you, well, I actually don't really know.
What should Indian drivers learn or perhaps keep on a checklist to ensure that the lubricants they use ensures good return on fuel economy later?
Starting point is know the right oil for the car. And here, what we've been trying to do is we have an app that's downloadable. It's called Shell Lube Match. And it has the better part of all cars that are available in India, and it tells you very specifically this is the right lubricant for your car. I think the second part in this one is then deciding what level of quality or value do you want out of the lubricants. Because the reality is you can get a very basic level of protection and it's going to give you that initial first month of great feeling, or you can get all the fuel efficiency benefits and you can get 6 months of great feeling or up to even a year of great feeling. And you get your 3% fuel efficiency in cars, and you get the 5 kilometers per liter in bikes, right? So then it's about deciding what level of quality do you want in your lubricant and how much are you willing to pay for it.
All right.
And that's a choice between short term and the long term. And then I think the next step is then going and getting your car serviced regularly. And we also have seen that go to somebody who understands the oils, who can explain to you what oil is right for your vehicle, ask the right questions. And I think if you do these 4 steps, you're pretty much well on your way of choosing the right oil, but more importantly, you're getting the fuel efficiency benefits.
Excellent. Thanks for taking time out and helping us understand all of that.
Absolutely.
And for more information about what we talked about, as well as Shell's Fact or Fiction report, log on to the website that's displayed on your screen right now. And stay with us, for we'll be back with a quick recap of all the facts that we've learned today.